So with your permission, I would like to dedicate this learning together, Bezrat Hashem, tonight, for the success of Olam Israel, for the protection of our Chayalim in Israel, Bezrat Hashem, and the Chatufim. And anybody wants to read a perek of Tehillim? Or
should read for Rachel bat Emilia?
Yeah, Bezrat Hashem. Okay, yeah, definitely. Rachel bat Emilia. And I'm going to put my glasses because even if the makeup makes you think I'm younger, I'm not. Okay. שיר המעלות, אשרי כל ירא אדוני העולם מדרכיו, יגיע כפיך כי תאכל אשריך וטוב לך, אשתך כגפן פוריה בירכתי ביתך, בניך כשתילי זיתים סביב לשולחנך. הנה כן יברא גבר ירא אדוני, יברכך אדוני מציון וראה בטוב ירושלים כל ימי חייך, וראה בנים לבניך שלום על ישראל. Okay, so girls, I want to ask you, after this beautiful beauty class by Patty, what is beauty according to you? ברוך אתה מלך העולם שהכל נברא. We're just us. Nobody's recording that. So.
Sarah, what's beauty for you?
I don't know. The way you like perceive yourself
Okay.
or others also. Like
How you perceive others or how people perceive you?
both. Like
Both.
from the outside, and then there's also like beauty, like in your interactions with people and like other things. But like beauty on the outside is like the way you look, the way you dress, everything, whatever.
I like that. Thank you, Sheila. Who else wants to share? Sarita, ¿quieres? No? If you were to think about something or someone beautiful, what would it be? Or who would she be? If you have in your mind like a beautiful thing, what would it be like?
Probably like a model.
A model, okay. And what is beautiful in her?
The way she looks.
The way she looks, okay. Anybody else?
Everybody in this room.
I agree. True. We are all beautiful.
But sometimes models are not beautiful per se, you know? They're like they don't have like beautiful features, but there's something about them.
There's something
else,
about them.
Sometimes about them.
Let's remember also that a model, when you think about it, is just a person who is like a hanger, a living hanger. She is there just to show us like some clothing. But I also grew up with models being like superstars in the 90s.
Yeah.
Cindy Crawford and all those women at that time. Okay, anybody else thinks about something beautiful? Now something. What is something beautiful to you?
It could be an animal, it could be
A place.
a place.
A place. If you were to think about a beautiful place you've been to, what would it be?
Italy.
Italy. Where? You got me on this one. I'm not Italian, but I was living in Italy before. So which city? What in Italy?
Venice, Tuscany.
Yeah, wow. You got me. I agree with you. It's beautiful. And why is it beautiful?
Like the views and like the sights.
The views, the sights.
It's pleasing to look at.
It's pleasing to look at. Here in Miami, what do you like to look at that is beautiful?
The water, the beach.
The beach, the sunset, right? What exactly is the emotion that we feel when we're in front of something, not someone, something beautiful?
Like peace.
Happy. Yeah.
Peace, happy. It's humbling. And also it's elevating. When you think about it, when you look at this, I used to live on West Broadview Drive in Bay Harbor Islands, and every day I would cross that bridge to go to Sans Souci. And I remember every single day I would say, Marabu Marasech Hashem. How beautiful is your creation, Hashem? Because every day you pass by that bridge, and at any time of the day, it's a different light, a different landscape. it's so beautiful. So inside of that notion of beauty, there is a sense of elevation, something that is physical, but at the same time there's more to it. And we can't really explain it. This exists also with art. Have you ever been to a gallery of art or to a museum? Did you notice? So I come from Paris, as you can tell from my accent, and in Paris we have a very well-known piece of art. You know what it is?
Mona Lisa.
The Mona Lisa from Leonardo da Vinci. And I've seen it many times because I love to go to the museum when I go to Paris and show my kids. And my kids, the first time they saw it, they told me like, so small. You make a huge line to see that thing and it's so small. It's so weird, right? But there's something to it that you can't explain. Honestly, she's not a model. You know that piece of art. She's not that beautiful when you look at her features. And yet there's something about that painting that really transports you, that elevates you, right? And we're going to see today that the concept of beauty is very important because it is, and that's why it touches the woman more than anything else, the beauty, because beauty is something that enables to elevate the physical to the spiritual or to the emotional. And this is the purpose of beauty, to elevate. So why are we speaking about it this week? Because you have that class, but it happened that I had a class planned since August, this week, on beauty in the Torah. See, so Mina Shamayim, it was really meant to be. And it was meant to be with you guys. So why do we speak about beauty this week? Because in the Parasha Tashavua, in this week's Parasha, vayakel, we continue the description of the Mishkan. Anybody is familiar with the Mishkan? Yeah? The Mishkan is like the Bet HaMikdash, but it's like a mobile Bet HaMikdash. It would travel with the Bnei Israel all around the desert, right? But basically it's the dwelling place for Hashem. And what is very interesting in the Torah is that in the first parasha of the Torah, Bereshit, Hashem speaks about the creation of the universe. And you know how many verses are dedicated to the creation of the universe? Would you think a lot or not a lot? A lot. Believe it or not, not that many. Less than 10, right? And regarding the creation or the construction of the Mishkan, more than 4 parashot. It's crazy. You think like, okay, the world is so huge and it's so beautiful and there are so many details in this world.
The universe, more than
The universe. Why is it given in so little? What do you say?
Yeah.
So little verses. Whereas the construction of the Mishkan has so many details and they are repeated. And in this week's parasha, we learn again about the details of the Mishkan, but there is one detail that I want to mention to you today. So, the Mishkan, we said, it's basically us building a place for Hashem to dwell in this world. So we can imagine, like, have you ever been to the Kotel?
Yeah.
Yes? All of you? Naomi, you've been to the Kotel? Leah, no? Not yet? So Bezrat Hashem, you should go. It's beautiful. One day you will go and you will appreciate the beauty of this site also. It's a different type of beauty, but it's beautiful and elevating. So this place, have you noticed that when you go next to the Kotel, you feel a very special feeling. You feel very vulnerable. You feel very elevated, very connected, right? It's very, very special. You don't feel like that in front of this wall. Why? It's not the same type of wall, right? This was the wall surrounding the Bet HaMikdash. And the Mishkan is what was previous to the Bet HaMikdash, okay? But it's more or less the same. So imagine the Kedusha, the holiness of the Bet HaMikdash and of the Mishkan. So now we're speaking about something super holy, right? If we go to a synagogue and we feel it's holy, the Mishkan was way more elevated in terms of Kedusha than the synagogue, okay? Inside of that Mishkan, there were a lot of different pieces. It was made a lot of different things. One of those things was a basin, a basin. Do you understand a basin?
Yeah.
A basin for the Kohanim, for the priests, to go and wash their hands and their feet before they would go and pray for all Israel or do their services and sacrifices, right? So imagine, this place was super holy, right? And you know what it was made of? It was made of mirrors. Just the same mirrors that Patty gave us earlier. Imagine, we gather those mirrors and we make a keli, a recipient, right? For the Kohanim, for the big priests of the Bet HaMikdash, to wash their hands in it. And even Moshe Rabbeinu, when he receives that commandment from Hashem, he's like, really? You want to make the basin, the washing place of the Kohanim with those mirrors? What are those mirrors? Those mirrors represent vanity, right? You look inside to make yourself pretty. What is the purpose of that? It's not that holy, says Moshe Rabbeinu, or questions Moshe Rabbeinu. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you know what? Don't think about that. It is very holy, because those are not any types of mirrors. Those are the mirrors of the Ivriyot. Have you ever heard that word? Ivriyot is a plural of the, so it means like the Jewish, Hebrew, the women, the Hebrew women, the Hebrew women. So the Hebrew women used to have mirrors. Now, when are we in Jewish history? We are right after the Matan Torah. So right after they went out of Egypt, and the Ivriyot, the Hebrew women, what were they in Egypt? They were slaves, right? Can you imagine a slave with a mirror? It's weird, because you think they have been slaves for 200 years. What can it mean to you to be a slave? What would a slave look like? Today, we don't have slaves, Baruch Hashem, but le'avdil, we have hostages, right? Did you see them getting out of Gaza? They were there for 500 days, for most of them. Can you imagine one of them getting out with her makeup on and her mirror in the hand? Okay, I'm just out of Gaza. No, doesn't make sense. You can imagine that she really endured a lot over there, right? So the Hebrew women, have been slaves, which is the closest thing today in our mind would be like a hostage, under Pharaoh's kingship in Egypt for 210 years. So basically, it's very hard to imagine that they were taking care of their beauty, getting like some makeup or anything like that. And Rashi, who is a French commentator of the Torah, comes and explains to us where they come from. There is a midrash, so there is a story that gives us more details about how it went when the Hebrews were in Egypt. Imagine those Hebrews. They've been in Egypt for 200 years, they've been slaves. Now there's Moshe Rabbeinu, who grew up in the palace of Pharaoh, right? So even though he was a Jew, he was a Hebrew, but he didn't grow up with the Hebrews. And he didn't suffer like them. But he came to them, telling them, your God didn't forget about you, and he's going to take you out of Egypt. You're going to be free people. What do they say to him? Yeah, of course he didn't forget about us. Listen, it's been 10 generations. 10 generations of us being born in slavery. What do you mean he didn't forget about us? Who is he even? They don't even know who Hashem is, right? And now you have this prince of Egypt coming and telling them, I'm taking you out. most of the people, most of the Ivrim, Hebrews, didn't really believe in that. They said, listen, when it's never going to change. It has never been and we will never be free. We will never be free men. We've been like that for ages. And we're never going to be free. So they really had lost all their hope. First, they didn't even have time to think, right? They were super busy building the pyramids for Pharaoh, and they were suffering a lot. They were just in a survival mode. And when you're in a survival mode, you don't have time to think so much. So at one point, there was a decree that Pharaoh passed. You know about that decree that we read during the Haggadah of Pesach. That decree said that all the boys, baby boys, from the Ivrim will have to die, right? And at that moment, something happened that the Jewish people decided, listen, we're not going to kill our babies when they come out of the womb of their moms, so better we don't get married. And so we don't have babies, right? And so Pharaoh doesn't kill them. At that moment, there is a little girl called Miriam. Miriam, you're familiar with her? Mm-hmm. She's the sister of Moshe Rabbeinu. But Moshe Rabbeinu is not yet born at that moment in the history. And Miriam, she's a prophetess. What is a prophetess?
She sees the future, no?
She
Like
can she actually speaks with Hashem, right? She can speak with Hashem and she can receive, as you said, visions of the future or things like that. And she receives a message that she will have a little brother that will save the entire Ivrim, all the Jewish people, right? So when her father and her mother decided to separate in order not to give any babies to be killed by Pharaoh, she goes to her father and she says, Papa, Abba, Father, Tati, whatever you want, okay? I am sorry, but you can't divorce mommy. You have to remarry because you're worse than Pharaoh. So her father says, what do you mean I'm worse than Pharaoh? What's a chutzpah? How dare you? You're worse than Pharaoh because Pharaoh killed only the boys. And you are condemning all babies. And so the father realized, wow, this girl is very smart. She's a little girl, but she knows everything. And so they decided to get married again. That was the first step towards our redemption, towards the exit of Egypt. So Miriam Hanevia is going to become the leader of all the Jewish women. And do you know by which merit all the Jewish people came out of Egypt? We came out of Egypt by the merit of the Jewish women. It's the Jewish women who managed to give hope and emunah to all the Jewish men. Men were not believing in any hope. They had really lost all their hope. They were totally broken by slavery. But the women, because we have this special connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and because we were born in order to make space for something beautiful to exist, just like a mommy who makes space inside of her tummy for a baby to be born and to grow. So the Jewish women were able to envision that Hashem will actually save them. The women had a lot of emunah. Are you familiar with this word? Emunah. Emunah comes from the same root as em. And Naomi, you speak Hebrew, nachon? No? You don't? Okay.
She does.
Leah, you do? Em, what is em?
Mom.
The mom.
Oh,
Exactly.
well, I say Ima. So.
Ima, but the mother, sorry. Mother is em, okay? So, yeah, it's the mom. Because the emunah is actually a concept of faith and of belief in Hashem that is transmitted by the mother. So Miriam Hanevia, she explained to all the Jewish women, look at who we are. We are women. We have a very special power. Our power is to make our men understand who is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and understand that even within this darkness, within this situation that seems so drastic and so terrible, there is a silver lining. And this silver lining is that He sent us Moshe Rabbeinu, and we're going to go out of Egypt. We're going to be free. So the women, the women decided to use one beautiful gift that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave them. It's the gift of beauty. And we said that the beauty is the ability to transform something physical into something spiritual, is to elevate, right? Beauty is not just what we see. It's something that we feel. And last week we celebrated Purim. Purim, the main character of Purim is Queen Esther, right? And the name Esther comes from the Persian Astara. You know what is Astara? It's the moon in Persian. Why the moon? Do you know that the moon that we see in the sky is actually not shining light? She's not shining her own light. She's reflecting the light of the sun. And that's why we see sometimes like a crescent of moon, and it changes. Why? Because depending on how the earth is placed and the moon is placed, it reflects the light of the sun in a different way. So Esther Hamalka, you know that story, she was selected to be the queen. Why? Because she won a beauty competition. But was she beautiful as we see a model today? No, she was not beautiful as we see a model today. And the Midrash says that, the Torah says even that she had green complexion. Complexion?
Mm-hmm.
Patty, is green a nice color for the face?
No.
No. Besides, it hides the red, right?
Yeah.
The green hides. But, so she was green, it was not nice. But why? King Ahasuerus had 1,000 challengers in this beauty competition. And they were all beautiful. They had prepared for a year to be pretty. Just the way we did for half an hour, they did that for a year. Imagine how beautiful they were. All of them. Besides Esther Hamalka, because Esther had decided that she will not prepare. She didn't want to be the queen at that moment. And yet, she was selected. You know why? Because she was beautiful. And what does it mean to be beautiful in this sense? Is that she was reflecting the light of the person in front of her. When Ahasuerus was in front of Esther, he felt good about himself. He felt interesting. He felt at his place. And it made him look at her as beautiful. You mentioned Sheina earlier. Beauty is something that we perceive from ourselves and that people perceive from us also. It's a perception, it's a feeling. There are some women you could think that they are beautiful because they have such perfect traits. And yet, they're in front of you, they start speaking like that, and you're like, oh my God, forget about it, right? And other people, you would not pay attention because their features are not perfect, but they are next to you and you feel that, oh, wow, they're so beautiful. Why? Because the way they reflect the other is just amazing. Beauty is actually a reflection of light. So let's go back now. Let's rewind to Egypt. What happened with those mirrors? The Hebrew women really wanted to give hope to their husbands so that they would go out of Egypt, right? Because they had a choice. Like in everything in our lives, when we're in front of a complicated situation, right, we have a choice. Do I want to get out of this situation, or do I do not want to get out of this situation? Have you ever been in this situation like that? Even if you're uncomfortable, but you're like, if I don't know what's going on after, I don't know if I want to make that step, right? That change. So they wanted to help their husbands and their brothers and their fathers understand the need for a change and the need for connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the need to believe that they were able to be one day to be free. So what they did is that their husbands were in the fields and they were working to find some hay, to make some more bricks. You know the story, right? And the women prayed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They connected to Hashem and they said, Hashem, please make a miracle that we enhanced ourselves. We make ourselves more beautiful in order to be able to convince our husbands through that beautiful light that we're going to shine on them that they can be free. Even though they can look at themselves and think that they are slaves, but we want them to find this light of freedom in our eyes. And Hashem did listen to their prayers. First, they took pieces of copper and they polished it until they finally made a mirror out of it. Once they had this mirror, they would go to the Nile. The Nile was a river in Egypt. And they would always go every day to the Nile in order to, with their bucket, in order to get some water, in order to hope to get some fishes, to eat something and to bring something to their husbands to eat also, right? Hashem made a nest. You know what, Sheina, what they would do when they would dig their bucket into the Nile? A miracle would happen, that it would be filled with hundreds of little fishes. So they would come back, take a look at those fishes. And the Midrash says that at that time they didn't have Dior and Chanel for cosmetics. They would take the fat from the fish and they would enhance themselves. Yummy. Don't try this. They would enhance themselves, well, if he's very hungry, with that fat of fish. What?
Like a moisturizer.
Exactly. And with the fish oil, right? And then with the rest of the fish, they would make yummy soups. And then they would go with that very yummy food that they had transformed. They would go to the fields and they would take their mirrors with them. They would feed their husbands something good, something yummy, something different that would already transport their husbands to another place. And then they would say, look, I know you don't want to be on the video, so you're not going to be. And they would take their mirror and they would look at it and they would say, look, my love, do you play my husband for 2 seconds? Thank you. And so he would look at himself in the mirror and she would tell him, what do you see? What do you see? A slave. Oh my God, do I really look like that? Yeah. And then she would take the mirror to her face and say, and look, what do you see now? And he would say, wow, you look beautiful. And she would say, see, that's the choice I made. Within this situation, I can either make the choice to remain a slave or to be free. And I'm going to tell you something. Last year, I was listening to one hostage here at the Shul of Bar Harbor who shared something amazing. I don't know if you heard that, Sheina. She shared that when she was inside of Gaza, inside of a tunnel, in the worst situation, in the worst darkness that anyone could ever imagine, a real nightmare, she had decided in her mind to escape this place and to be free. She said, I closed my eyes and I would connect to my grandmother's Shabbos table. Her grandmother was a Moroccan Jew, or is a Moroccan Jew, I don't know. And she would try to envision the delicious little salads on the table, the smell, and she would free herself from this darkness. With our imagination, we can create a reality. And therefore that day, the Ivriot, led by Miriam Anevia, told their husbands, my love, look, you too can be free. They placed a seed of freedom in their mind and helped them transform this darkness into light. This is the strength of an Ivriya, to be able, or of a Jewish woman, to be able to make space for a vision, for a future, for a potential. Beauty, the beauty of the Ivriyot, was not just about the beauty itself. They didn't enhance themselves in order to be more beautiful. They enhanced themselves because they knew that through this enhancement, through this beauty, they would be able to elevate the physical to the spiritual. And it's true in anything that we do. You know, there is a concept in Judaism to beautify the mitzvah. For instance, on Shabbat, we usually use a tablecloth. We usually use nice glasses and nice plates, and we make special meals, right? Why? Why do we do that?
Make it more special.
To make it more special, to make it more beautiful. And even when you're going to get married, Bezrat Hashem, what are you going to do the day of your marriage?
You're gonna call me.
You're going to call Patty 6 months in advance because she's very booked. I have to speak to you about the bar mitzvah of my son. So you're going to call Patty. Why? Because you want to be even more beautiful. And it's not just for this destination of beauty. It's not for the aesthetic. It's because now we understand what is the purpose of beauty. Beauty is a gift that Hashem gave us in order to elevate something to a higher destination. So with that, I want to close that little class together and open up maybe to questions. Do you have any questions? Any comments?
It was very beautiful what you
Yeah.
said. Yeah, no, it made sense, and yeah. No,
Yeah, I
it
really
made sense.
It was really cool how you incorporated like all of it, like different times in history, like with Esther and then with Miriam and like just now with the hostages, like it was really cool.
Baruch Hashem. Thank you, Sheena. Thank you, girls.
Thank you.
Thank you so